so let's see the big ones. The biggest ones would be going to engineering school. Definitely kind of the desire to learn about how things work and, be able to build things. I think that was kind of a big influence. Moving to San Francisco has always been very big because then I came from Canada where I didn't really know a lot of entrepreneurs to San Francisco where it's kind of a hotbed of, entrepreneurial activity and, everyone's doing a startup and, because I had a startup, it was kind of made, a lot of sense to be here with other startups. Even earlier than that, another influence, I guess, was just the fact that my parents were kind of very different roles, but then they worked together. My dad was like an economist, an accountant almost, and my mother was more an artist and a potter. But they ended up kind of converging towards design, so they were a design build team. And when I grew up, they would basically build and design houses. So my dad would build the house, and then my mom was an interior designer afterwards. And they just, in the neighborhood that we lived, they kind of built maybe 25 houses while I was growing. Just because I kind of got used to, my parents never had a regular job. They were always just, taking on some new project and doing it themselves and running it themselves and just making it happen. And, I don't remember my mom or dad really. I guess my mom taught a little while. But generally, they never really had jobs to work. They were always kind of working out of their house, working on projects, working together, designing stuff, building stuff, launching stuff. That was just kind of when I grew up, and that was just kind of the norm. They never went to work. They always doing their own work. Really was had parents who kind of had a job they went to or a boss that they complained about. They always were doing their own thing. I always knew that it would be really, because it was so, you just click a button, you find something cool, you thumb it up, you click again. I always knew because it was, it should be able to get pretty good adoption. And I kept thinking, well, Google is the right idea on the back end in terms of, a very computer-based smart system, fully distributed, it learns, targeted advertising, all this stuff. I always thought that the television with just flip metaphor, the one at a time, was a really great kind of user experience. Right. So I guess I was always trying to think about how to combine the two, and I thought Stumble was kind of, I never thought that this was the system architecture that would kind of be like a television, but the television feature, and it could work for any type of content. But I think the thing that kind of surprised me is early on I knew it would be, lots of people would use it, but I didn't really think about how big it was. I just kind of was thinking more about the problem itself. And, when we came down and money very quickly, that was kind of surprising. When we crossed 1 million users, that was pretty and then more recently, things like, sending more traffic than Facebook. That's kind of, I guess, way back when. The Facebook didn't exist, but, when you can, it's kind of weird to think of something that actually drives more traffic than Facebook in the States. That's, I guess I just never thought about, early on. And so sometimes when these milestones happen, it's kind of surprising. Because back in the early days, I remember that the day I actually saw a press article. I saw this article. It was the first article that's ever written about us. It was probably about a year and a half after. And it said StumbleUpon has attracted 50,000 users and 1.3 million stumbles with no press and no coverage, no anything. And I thought, I remember when I first saw that in print, I was like, wow, this is cool that this really wrote about us. And, and then the other day I was thinking, we do that in 1 hour. We do that in an hour. So it's so weird that I spent a year and a half working towards this article, and I was like, oh man, I got this article. And now it's that's like a slow hour. So I don't know, I guess just the scale of it is kind of surprising. But, a lot of these systems are still kind of either a publishing platform or a search platform.
Right.
And I think we're really trying to be something that's different. It's really trying to stick to that one at a time, sense of surprise you're going to get. Because we personalize it, you're going to get stuff that's interesting. And the cool thing about the system is that it gives you stuff you would never think to search for. So, I think that in the earlier days, I was much more very hands-on, working directly with engineers. So I was thinking of ideas. I was, discussing how it should work, and then looking at how people kind of reviewed stuff. And I was basically a product manager. Right? I was a product manager who did a little bit of business stuff, did a little bit of fundraising, a little bit of marketing, the occasional bit of press. But most of my time was basically as a product manager working with engineers. And that, for the first many years, was just that. And then as it kind of got a little bit bigger, then we had a product manager. And then I started more like product planner. And now that we've got kind of exec team in place, it's really more about kind of planning out what you're going to do for the next 10 months, getting everyone's feedback on that plan, making sure everyone thinks it's a good idea, getting buy-in on certain ideas, trying to figure out solutions to various issues, eliciting information, distributing information. It's more of like a communication role with kind of a broader group of people versus just like a couple people that were actually building it. More presentations, more PR, more work with investors, more public speaking, video interviews, and all that kind of stuff. It's more of kind of a planning and communication role. Every time the company gets bigger, the role changes a little and it's a little different, and I just have to kind of adapt. But so far it's been pretty good. I mean, I found as long as you hire really good people to kind of help out, then you're kind of comfortable delegating. And now we've got a couple execs who joined from Google, and one of them was there for 7 years, and he did a lot of the AdSense biz dev stuff, and another one ran the engineering group for Google Analytics, which is one of the biggest platforms on the web in terms of like write frequency. So now that I've got good people to help, it's okay. I guess I'm okay with kind of focusing on different stuff like the planning and the communication and PR and strategy. I think I've been thinking a little bit recently about just the idea that there's a lot of problems in the world, and we don't have enough low employment. We don't have an elegant system that will solve that problem. We've got there's so many problems out there, and like in order to kind of fix those problems, like the other day I think at that Techonomy conference, that one that's going on right now, someone was saying that policymakers can only do so much, but you really need all the innovators and entrepreneurs to actually fix a lot of these problems. And that's how we're going to kind of make things better, is having more people who are kind of entrepreneurial and people who are kind of go out there and don't just kind of work at a company, but think about, okay, I'm going to go off my own and in a smaller, more agile environment, figure out how I can solve some of these problems. And I guess I'm thinking a lot about like how do you just kind of encourage that? I mean, how do you, through a combination of education and funding and I don't know, just cultural shifts, like how do you get more people to just kind of be comfortable doing that? If there's the right cultural kind of shift and more people are willing to kind of do startups, not just startups, web, but startups that tackle other problems that medical, financial, legal. I mean, there's a lot of different industries out there, and I think right now people tend to focus on the web startups and the technology startups. But if that kind of attitude of entrepreneurship carries over to other industries, and things like the startup visa and funding programs from government, et cetera, all kind of work out, I feel like that's kind of a way that a lot of things are going to get solved. And if you're going to try to balance the budget, and part of it's going to come from economic growth, and part of it's going to come from cutbacks, from spending cutbacks. Part of that spending cutbacks have to be on an efficient way, which means you more efficient systems, and you're still okay with reducing the money used, right? And then the more efficient those systems are, the less you have to raise taxes in order to balance the budget, which is going to be a big goal, right? So I've been thinking a lot about kind of how can entrepreneurship kind of I guess raise the overall improve the overall efficiency of systems in countries, so that you don't have to raise taxes quite as much because you've lowered the spending and the efficiencies of a bureaucratic system, by doing so. So I guess I've been thinking a lot about that. I don't know, can figure out a way to get more people kind of coming up with creative solutions for some of their problems, and having personal incentive as well as just, like making it so these entrepreneurs can actually get rich by solving some of the problems. I don't know, I think it could have a pretty big effect on a lot of these issues that you keep reading about in terms of, we're spending too much money and people are over-consuming. I mean, I think that, we could probably spend less money if we did, big refactors on some of these old systems, right? I started a second company called Uber, and it's a kind of mobile application that helps you book a town car, and you can just kind of see on your iPhone, here's the car that's 3 blocks away. You click a button, it comes and picks you up, right? And this is another kind of company calling like a disruptive kind of company. And I remember like looking at, I designed that Uber app, and now it's leading to much more efficient kind of utilization of kind of cars on the road, and that could mean lower pollution, less pollution. It could mean faster pickup times. And when you look at like the old cab industry and how antiquated it is, and how it's all regulated and stuff, we're kind of just doing away with that and completely disrupting the services market, right? And I guess that has got me interested in the idea of, well, there's so many industries that are just kind of old and inefficient, and nobody has any incentive to make them better. Nothing else personally gain, and it's still kind of this bureaucracy. And if the Uber kind of model of using new technology to make an industry much more efficient was applied not just to like getting around cabs or finding cool stuff on the web like StumbleUpon, there's a lot of other industries that you need that to happen, and it's all going to be about having enough entrepreneurial, product-oriented people to make that happen. So, I've been thinking, how do you get more product people? How do you get more entrepreneurs? If you could have more entrepreneurs, coming out, from university, or maybe more school, like some sort of mentorship program in university where they teach you how to do entrepreneurship. I mean, stuff like that. I think longer term can make a big difference. And I guess every time I read these headlines about something that's going wrong, I think, well, they don't have any entrepreneurs in there who are trying to solve these problems.